The first thing she noticed was his hand. Not the armor, not the rank, not the men standing behind him with weapons ready. His hand. It was steady. That shouldn't have mattered, but it did, because everyone else who had touched her that day had done so with urgency, cruelty, or fear. Hands that shoved, pulled, restrained. Hands that treated her like a problem to be erased. His didn't. She was bent forward, palms pressed into the table, breath caught somewhere between terror and resolve. The stone chamber closed in around her, torches flickering like they were afraid to watch. She could feel the eyes on her, judgment without trial, certainty without truth. And then there was him. Standing close, close enough that she could feel warmth through the space between them, close enough that if she leaned back even an inch, she would touch him. "You don't have to be afraid of me," he said quietly. She laughed, a single, sharp breath that surprised even her. "That makes one of us." Behind them, the official cleared his throat, impatient. "Proceed." The word landed like a blade. Her fingers tightened on the wood. The table was scarred with marks from those who came before her. She wondered how many of them had believed, like she did, that love or truth or courage would save them in the end. She lifted her head, and that was when she saw recognition flash across his face. Not pity. Recognition. The marketplace came back to her in pieces, sun, noise, figs rolling across stone, a stranger kneeling to gather them, embarrassed and amused all at once. The way he had smiled at her like she mattered, like she wasn't invisible. She hadn't known his name then. Now she knew his power. "Marcus." The officer's voice cut through the moment. "State your final words." She inhaled slowly. "You're afraid," she said, her voice carrying despite herself. "Not of me, of what I know." A ripple moved through the guards. Marcus's jaw tightened. The officer sneered. "You mistake theatrics for truth." "No," she said, "I mistake silence for cowardice." The chamber went still. Marcus stepped forward. "Enough." It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Every head turned. "This prisoner," Marcus said, "is under my protection." Gasps, whispers, a mistake unfolding in real time. The officer stared at him. "You would tie your fate to hers." Marcus didn't look away from her. "I already have." Her breath left her in a rush she couldn't control. The chains were removed. The guards hesitated, then obeyed. Authority bent just this once. When they were finally alone in the narrow passage beyond the chamber, she turned on him. "Why?" she demanded. "You don't know me." He closed the distance between them, stopping just short of touching her. "I know enough." "That answer gets men killed." A shadow crossed his face. "I'm counting on it." They fled the city that night under cover of smoke and rebellion. Streets burned. Bells rang. The empire fractured by inches. They rode until dawn, until exhaustion dragged truth out of them like confession. "You were sent to find me," she said finally, watching the horizon bleed light. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "To arrest me." "To deliver you." "To whom?" Marcus swallowed. "The resistance." She turned slowly. "Then why save me from them too?" His voice broke. "Because they don't want you alive. They want what you know." The twist settled between them, sharp and devastating. She wasn't the prize. She was the threat. And Marcus had just betrayed everyone, empire and rebellion alike, for a woman who could destroy them both. She reached for him then, not desperately, deliberately. "If you stay," she said, "you die." "I know." "If you leave," she said, "you live." He took her hand anyway. "I choose you." They hide among rebels who don't trust Marcus and fear her knowledge. Love deepens in stolen moments, shared warmth, shared guilt. She learns Marcus was ordered to kill her after extraction. He confesses he failed. A woman from the resistance betrays them out of jealousy and ideology. Marcus is captured. She must decide whether to give up the secret that could end the empire or let him die. Ends with the reveal. The secret isn't a weapon, it's a lineage. She is the last legal heir to the empire itself. Marcus is sentenced publicly. She walks into the city alone, declares her name. The empire fractures from within. The resistance turns on her. Marcus is freed but chooses exile to protect her rule. Final twist. She abdicates, destroys the throne entirely, and leaves with him, choosing love over power, rewriting history. Final image. Two figures disappearing into the same road where they first met. No longer fugitives, no longer rulers, just free they hid where the world forgot to look. A ruined monastery clung to the edge of the hills, stone eaten by time, roof half collapsed, vines crawling through broken arches like veins reclaiming a dead body. It was the kind of place people passed without seeing, and that was why the resistance used it. By the time they arrived, night had already swallowed the sky. She dismounted first, legs trembling not from fear but from exhaustion she had refused to feel until now. Marcus followed, quieter than a shadow, his eyes scanning the dark instinctively, as if enemies might grow out of the stone itself. "You don't trust them," she said without turning. "I don't trust anyone who needs secrecy to survive," he replied. "That includes you." He didn't deny it. Inside, a fire burned low. Faces emerged from the dark, men and women hardened by loss, eyes sharp with suspicion. They looked at Marcus like he was a blade waiting to turn. They looked at her like she was already dead. One woman stepped forward, dark hair pulled tight, scar along her jaw, beautiful in a way that came from surviving too much. "So this is her," the woman said, "the truth speaker." Her gaze lingered on Marcus longer than necessary. "And this," she added softly, "is the Empire's hound." Marcus stiffened. "I left the Empire," he said. The woman smiled. "Men like you don't leave, they're just redirected." She turned back to the girl. "I'm Livia, you belong to us now." "I don't belong to anyone," she replied. That earned her a laugh, not kind, not cruel, interested. They were given a small cell to share, stone walls, a thin blanket, a door that locked from the outside. Protection, they called it. Imprisonment, Marcus thought. When the door closed, silence rushed in. She leaned against the wall and slid down, finally letting her body shake. Marcus knelt in front of her instantly. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "No, just here." He exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding his breath since the city burned. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she reached out and touched his armor. "Take it off." He froze. "Not like that," she said quickly, though her fingers didn't move away. "You're still wearing the Empire." The words cut deeper than any blade. Marcus stood, unfastened the leather straps piece by piece until the weight of who he had been lay on the floor between them. Without it, he looked younger, more dangerous, more human. She stepped closer. "I trusted you," she said quietly, "even knowing you lied." "I never lied about this," he said, his voice rough. "What I feel." Her breath hitched. He didn't touch her, not yet. He waited like everything depended on her choice. When she finally closed the space between them, it wasn't desperate. It was deliberate. Her forehead rested against his chest. She could feel his heart racing, betraying the calm he wore like armor. "If this ends badly," she whispered, "I don't want to regret not choosing this." His hands came up slowly, stopping just short of her waist. "Say the word," he murmured, "and I'll stop." She lifted her head and kissed him instead. It wasn't gentle. It was restrained hunger, weeks of fear and longing colliding in a single breath. He kissed her like a man who knew he was already condemned. Like this was the only thing in the world that still made sense. When they finally pulled apart, their foreheads rested together, breathing tangled. Outside the door, someone was watching. The next morning, Marcus was summoned alone. Livia waited by the fire, arms crossed. "You were ordered to kill her," she said calmly. Marcus didn't react. "Yes. And yet she lives. She matters." Livia's eyes darkened. "So did the cause until you made it personal." She stepped closer. "Do you love her?" Marcus didn't answer. That was enough. "She isn't what you think," Livia said. "She's dangerous." "I know." "No," Livia said softly. "You don't." She leaned in, voice a whisper. "She isn't carrying a secret. She is the secret." Marcus's blood went cold. Before he could demand more, alarms rang through the ruins. Shouts steal chaos. The Empire had found them. In the confusion, Marcus fought his way back toward the cell. Too late. The door stood open. Inside, the room was empty, except for blood on the stone and the sound of chains dragging away into the dark. She was gone. Captured by the resistance, delivered by Livia. Marcus fell to his knees, fury tearing through him like fire. And miles away, bound and bruised, she was brought before the Resistance Council. Livia stood beside them as the truth was spoken aloud for the first time. "She is not a witness," the leader said. "She is not a messenger. She is the last living heir to the imperial bloodline." Her head snapped up. The room erupted. "Kill her. No, use her. She could end the Empire." She laughed then, blood on her teeth, eyes blazing. "You still don't understand," she said. They silenced her with a strike. But it was too late. Because somewhere between the fire and the chains, she had realized the truth. Marcus hadn't saved her because of what she knew. He saved her because of who she was. And now the world would burn for it.